A very good afternoon to you all. Welcome to this week's brief video message. It's Friday the 22nd of January. I don't know why I hesitated then. It's my mum's birthday. 83 the old dear today, and I'm popping around there later on. I'm entitled to do so. She's lived by herself in an hour little bubble. But don't tell if you see in the meantime, but I bought her a Manchester United shirt. She's a big red, a fervent red like myself, and I've got her name and her number, her age 83 on the back, so hopefully that'll go down well. She can watch that when we wear that when we watch the FA Cup game against Liverpool on Sunday. Hopefully, it'll be a better performance than last week against the Scousers. Good win at Fulham. Great Pogba goal. So hopefully, we'll keep a bit of pressure on the Blues there, who seem to be playing. Unfortunately, pretty well at the moment. Anyway, that's by the by. So popping over there later on. Home clothes day today, or dress down Friday. Decided to institute that little change. Got my grandad cardi on here, bit of knitwear. Get a bit cold at my age in this weather. But yeah, a nice little treat at the end of the week for the staff and students in school who are working ever so hard and doing ever so well, as you are doing at home. The feedback continues to be very positive, but any comments you have, good or bad, about the remote learning, please let us know. I think the big change has been that staff were overdoing it. The evidence I've shared with people from Ofsted and elsewhere, some big reviews about remote learning, it doesn't have to be and shouldn't be, in fact, 2 hours of live broadcasting for member staff. It's exhausting, and that screen time is not good anyway. There's no evidence that is any better than recorded lessons and other work that people are doing independently. So yeah, we'll keep tweaking that, keep amending, keep reviewing it, and give the best possible provision for young people at home. But well done, everything you're doing. The engagement levels seem to be very high, both here and at home, and I thank parents for their support there. I took my first remote lessons this week, 2 lots of lessons with Year 7, and it seems to have gone well. But thank you to those parents who were in the background, and a couple chipped in. Hopefully you've learnt a bit of French vocab, subjects and likes and dislikes in the lessons. Hope that went well. Okay. Odd week, hasn't it? Just looking outside now, weather-wise. Sun is shining brightly now, but we've had heavy snow, a deluge of rain, and interestingly the likes of Didsbury, Northwich, Lymm, all flood risk and warnings are on the national news, and one of our colleagues was at risk of being evacuated on Wednesday with their young families. That was of grave concern, but hopefully that's stopped now, and we'll have a tranquil weekend weather-wise, because we don't really need to deal with flooding and evacuations on top of everything else we're contending with at the moment. Okay, thank you to those of you who, Year 8 parents who attended or attendance on the remote parents evening on Wednesday. Again, a few technical issues. We're dealing with the internet and Wi-Fi. There's going to be. The readings suggested in school that our system was working fine on Wednesday. Maybe the weather affected some contact with teachers at home and parents at home. Maybe there's plenty of people in your house on devices all at the same time, which put pressure on your systems. I don't know. But anyway, a minimal number this week of appointments were affected, and staff will no doubt update you of progress in due course. 2 members of staff, both in science, unforeseen circumstances, couldn't make it at the last minute. I know one of them already has replied and given information to parents about their sons and daughters' progress. So and I think, to be honest with you, the system generally has got glowing reports from you and from staff. I don't see any reason why, provided we have assurances from the company involved, that technologically wise, that they are updating things and building their capacity. There's no reason why this isn't the way to go in the future, so you don't have to be dragged into school. The only issue we have, of course, if we do that, and I'm thinking ahead now for next year, we'll have to finish school a little bit earlier, because most staff teach most year groups, and have all the staff delivering parents' evenings from the school system would put unnecessary pressure on it, which I'm not sure our network could cope with. So I have to give staff a chance to go home to deliver parents' evenings remotely from home with their laptops rather than in school. So tweaks to the school day on the back of that, but I'm sure that's a small price to pay for the benefits of not dragging you guys in and queuing for parents' evenings. The Year 11 one, which was affected by issues with the server at School Cloud, the system who deliver it, the missed appointments have been rescheduled for this coming Thursday. Mr. Holt tells me that the last count, about 30% of people had rescheduled. Please, I would encourage you to make those appointments. I know it's the second evening of your time, but it is Year 11, it is GCSEs we're talking about, and a conversation with your sons and daughters' teachers, I think would be highly appropriate at this stage. And on that note of exams, I mentioned as well, I won't go into detail because it only concerns 2-year groups, year 11 and 13. I've sent you a copy of the consultation which the DFE released last week. I would encourage you again to complete that. You can skip through in 20 minutes. You could give more thought and contemplation and consideration and spend over an hour, as I did, reading all the notes. There's a 46-page document to go with it if you want to read that, but there are summaries in each section as well. And write your own comments as well as just ticking the boxes. But it's important you have your say. There's no 3-line whip from school, there's no directive from me to staff. Staff are filling that in under their own steam, giving their views, and you are entitled to yours as pupils and as parents, because it's your future, it's your exams, and you ought to have a say in how they are assessed and how those grades come your way. I suppose the biggest bone of contention and thing to be decided, hopefully it's not a fait accompli, hopefully the DFE haven't decided already what's going to happen, and make this a pointless exercise, is this idea of to what extent these externally set papers will count. Who has to do them, who will do them, who will mark them, how much choice there will be in terms of questions and papers. All those things, I put my view in there, and it's important you do too. So yeah, I would like to think they will play some part for all students, but they're to sit alongside teacher assessments based on all the evidence we've gathered since the beginning of year 10 really, what we think the performance levels are like for each student. But I stress again, we will intend to give you your very just desserts. I see my phone ping up here. My wife's spending money on my debit card in Marks and Spencer's. Anyway, I shouldn't leave that lying around. By the by, I won't say how much either. Marks and Spencer's. We've got an oldie. We've got Morrison's locally. Why is she in Marks and Spencer's? I don't know. Anyway, I hope I get something out of that. Good, moving on. Where was I? Exams. So yes, do contribute to the consultation. Have your say. The timeline. We are asked to assess and submit, assessments in whatever form, these externally set papers or something of our own deciding would take place in May and June, with final grades submitted by the middle of June, which is a quick turnaround, and then some form of appeals process with grades being awarded in July, and possibly early July, so before the end of term. I think last week I hinted that pupils will be with us longer, which was my interpretation, but it looks like they'll be gone by early June, middle of June, those year 11s and 13s. So in some ways it'd be good to get those grades issued in July in the appeals process and leave the rest of the summer free. We haven't got all that hassle at the end of August getting things distributed in readiness for sixth forms and colleges and universities starting a few weeks after. So the timeline makes some kind of sense, but I can foresee a bit of pressure on people as well. Okay, to get that done in time. So yeah, watch this space. Let's see how that consultation pans out. Quick word on the COVID side of things. Testing in school continues twice weekly for staff now. We've done the mass testing of pupils in. There's been some announcements this week. The mass testing will continue, and every student who returns in due course will be tested twice within 3 to 5 days to make sure they are hopefully COVID-free. But what they have said this year, and quite sensibly, due to the nature of the test, they are stopping what we call the serial testing for anybody who was a close contact. The idea was that rather than isolating for 10 days, a close contact would have 7 days of consecutive testing so they could stay in school. They have decided that that is not necessarily the safest way of doing things, quite sensibly, and that now we automatically 10 days isolation again if somebody is a close contact in school. Thankfully, of course, we had very few cases last term and very few close contacts as a result, but that is the new directive. Also, something came out, I think, just this morning. If somebody tests positive on the lateral flow test, the test we're doing in school, it is automatic 10 days isolation. Previously, up till today, they suggested you go for a PCR test to confirm the LFT test before isolating, but it's no longer deemed appropriate. So if we do test anybody positive in school, it'll come to you, the results, via test and trace, and you'll be asked to isolate, and that is a compulsory isolation moving forward, and not awaiting a confirmatory PCR test at a test centre and then the lab. Okay, so just a quick note on testing there, but it's a constantly fluent situation. The fortnightly briefing with Trafford Public Health last night, all the head teachers, we are told the figures are coming down, around about 370 something per 100,000, still far too high, needs to come down to make it safe, but they are heading in the right direction, and particularly school-age children, because they're not in. And it tends to be workplace spread that seems to be the concern, which I suppose was inevitable given there seem to be more people who are critical workers now than there were back in the first lockdown, and therefore more people on public transport as well. Okay, great week in school, as I mentioned before, great engagement with the learning. Nice to see things carrying on as normal in many, many ways. Mr. Tomlinson giving out rewards badges, the gold ones initially yesterday. There's a video I put on Twitter earlier, and it's on the Key Stage 3 Instagram. Have a look at that. But it's good to see the joy and the pleasure of those young people receiving their gold badges. Having Mr. Tomlinson knock on your door with his bobble hat on, his face mask, probably a shock to the system yesterday. And I believe the silver and bronze badges are to follow in due course. Okay, so some good news there, some real quality of work. I had the pleasure I've seen some contributions for Holocaust Memorial Day, and one particular offering from Jessica Hill that Mr. Gerser showed me is truly outstanding. So well done. It just shows the quality of the work being set, the quality of the lessons, and therefore the pupils are paying us back in kind by producing some fantastic work. And I know parents at home, you are contributing to that process, so thank you once again for everything that you are doing. Okay, weekend ahead, as I say, but a football on again, of course. United beating Liverpool in the FA Cup. Hopefully City getting knocked out. What else have we got going on? Next week, as well as a rescheduled Year 11 Parents' Evening, of course, we have the Year 9 options process. Ordinarily, Mr. Fenwick would be doing his turn in the Adstead Hall. Where he's doing it from this time, I don't know. Probably we're mounting somewhere, knowing Mr. Fenwick. But he'll give you an introduction to the Year 9 options evening, and then there will be Q&As with heads of departments, so option subjects. There will be taster sessions for pupils, and the options booklet as well. All that information's online on our website. Do have a look, and please, 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 if you're a parent of Year 9 student, do drop on to Mr. Fenwick's talk on Thursday. The details are there. I think it's a team's effort this time around. So hopefully, fingers crossed, no technical issues, and you'll get a good insight into the options process. But let's try and keep things as normal as possible. Of course, Year 9 Parents' Evening follows that, and you get a chance to ask any questions you might want to about the subject teachers of the subjects your child is thinking of taking for GCSE. Okay, I've no idea how I feel 12 and a half minutes, so you probably switched off by now. I'm talking to myself. But anyway, have a great weekend. Fingers crossed weather keeps like this. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep us in touch, give us any good news you have of young people at home. I know they're not doing much, but any sort of success stories and good news stories we would love to hear. Look after yourselves and come on the Reds. Have a good weekend, and speak to you next week. All being well. Bye for now.